Sir, Mr. Modi has been known to be a person, or I should say the single word, to be a very keen listener. It has been clearly said by many people I have met in my personal life, and it's something said as that he listens to the concern very, showing all the interest that he has in his complete strength. And you have been in multiple meetings with him. So how much is that as a truth that comes?
Absolutely. Mr. Modi is a very, very patient listener.
Or for you to be a civil servant, there is an 18 hours of, dedication required.
No, I never studied for 18 hours. I don't think I was ever tackled by a politician.
Okay.
But, in the beginning of my career, because of problems with me, I would not say with politicians, because I had a bias against the politician.
Okay.
Like most of us, think that every wrong in the country is because of politicians.
So, another question that's similar is to, working with Prime Minister Modi. How is it with the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath?
I have never worked with him.
Okay.
I just had a meeting with him, which I have described in my book.
Okay.
In a chapter, I think, running into 2-3 pages. That's about all. And I was pretty impressed with him in that meeting because I had taken to him a very sensitive issue of a rampant mafia in B.Ed and D.Ed colleges, and which had a lot of political backing countrywide, including UP. He immediately agreed with me that's a very serious problem, and he even assured me that he's going to support me in that. He did support me.
Hi sir, welcome to Trio Talks, and it is a privilege to have you today with us. And yes, obviously we can say that today Trio Talks has attained a level where we are having Mr. Anil Swarup with us, and I can tell you with blatant honesty that it's a very big thing for a platform like us, which has been recently started, and we are having somebody as decorated as Mr. Anil. So thank you so much, sir, for giving us the time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
The feeling is mutual, sir. So very basic question. In your growing life, जब आपने अपनी graduation, post graduation जो मैंने देखा कि political science में आपने किया है, so when was the time when you thought that yes, I want to be a civil servant?
Much before that. I was 11 years of age probably. Then I saw a piece of paper written by my father in which he had worked out what will I do in future to become an IAS officer.
Okay.
It was my father's dream to make me an IAS officer. I imbibed his dream and then tried to become an IAS officer.
All right. So since you told that it was your father's dream, and then you completely entailed that dream of your father. So was there any hardship that you ever faced in those particular time periods?
No hardship per se, but it was a journey that I enjoyed.
Okay.
A journey towards becoming an IAS officer. I put my everything for becoming an IAS officer in the sense of becoming generally aware, improving your communication skills. So I was working a lot on my soft skills.
All right.
For the final launch for preparation for the civil service.
All right.
And that's what I advise to the current aspirants, that you have to prepare for preparing for civil service, which I did during the course of my student life. Almost everything that I did was actually to evolve as a better person, which helped me become a civil servant.
And probably words of wisdom for a lot of aspirants. Hardly 10 days left for the prelims of civil service. So none other than from Mr. Anil Swarup, I would definitely say mark those words, because that is something you're going to need. These are like, magical spices that you shower over your particular meal to, bring the best taste. So make sure that you're going through those words from him. Sir, we have had multiple discussions about civil services and everything. In the shortest form that you can, give a message to the aspirants preparing for this civil services 2024, that you
2024, I don't have much to say because whatever they would have done, they would have done. All I can tell them is just relax and take it easy. You can't prepare much now.
Yes.
So there's no point in getting tense over what you don't know. Focus on what you know.
True.
And be relaxed and do the best that you can.
Sir, I came to know that in one of your interviews, you mentioned that आपके preparation के time पे you used to have your time. There was no such thing that, you're just completely into studies and everything, because there is a complete vision where people start telling that, for you to be a civil servant, there is an 18 hours of, dedication required.
No, I never studied for 18 hours. Yes, I committed myself totally to the preparation 1.5 years before the examination, but that didn't mean 18 hours.
All right.
I studied. I mean, it was totally focused studying for the civil service, but not for 18 hours.
All right. Sir, I would be coming to one of the most renowned factor of your civil servant life. That was the coal allocation. And why? Because I can relate, and I have been into the part where coal was something related to me. Sir, what were the actual hardships that you actually faced as a civil servant there? Because being a civil servant and, involving with politicians, it's something, the relation between a bureaucrat to a politician.
What held me in a difficult assignment in coal sector was how I had evolved as a civil servant before that.
Right.
Because I love challenges. So this was probably the biggest challenge of my career. I distinctly remember having rung up a friend of mine to ask about the coal sector.
Okay.
How's the coal sector? He said, gangs of us are good. So that actually explained the phenomena of coal. But I was mentally prepared for what I was getting into because I knew it was in a mess.
All right.
In a way, I felt that things were so bad that they couldn't become worse. So whatever that was going to happen to coal sector was going to be an improvement.
Okay.
And I could walk away with that credit. So I looked at it from a very positive point of view. But, I was very fortunate to run into a very, very fine team of officers.
Okay.
A phenomenal set of officers who probably would have done whether I was there or not. I mean, they're absolutely amazing set of officers. And we worked out a plan, and by God's grace and the support that we got, it worked from acute shortage to a point where we were toying with the idea of exporting coal to Bangladesh.
Okay.
So our approach was basically to understand the cause of a problem that had been my approach throughout my career. Instead of, scratching the surface, just go into the depth of the problem, find what is the real cause of the problem, because everyone felt scams were a problem. And I very soon discovered scams were only a symptom of a problem, which was much more serious in terms of shortage of coal in a country which sat on so much coal that we could do it for next 100 years, yet we were short of coal. So we understood the issues, problems, and then worked out a strategy which worked.
Sir, as correctly I can remember, you actually held the position into the coal department from 2014, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, 2014.
And that is when India was getting into the era of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Yes, he had just taken over the prime.
Just taken over the chair. And you have been known as the officer who denies or probably gives his point. So there has been an instance where, you have taken that situation and Prime Minister Modi was in the meeting and there was something that you took as a point.
I had this habit of speaking my mind out.
Yes.
Because if I had a point of view, my view was that we should express your point of view to whoever. Obviously, the ultimate decision maker is the politician. Yes. But whenever I had a point of view, I mentioned it. And that is how it happened in the first meeting with Mr. Modi, when he was the Prime Minister and he was reviewing power and coal sector because there was a serious crisis. And the Power Secretary made a presentation of about 6 or 7 slides.
All right.
In each of these slides, he mentioned that the real problem of the power sector was coal. At the end of which the Prime Minister turned towards me and mentioned, Anil ji, आपने देखा, आप कोल की समस्या का समाधान कर दीजिए, देश की आर्थिक स्थिति सुधर जाएगी.
Yes.
Now, I had a slight difference opinion on that, so I mentioned it. Sir, मैं आपसे सहमत हूँ, लेकिन खाली कोल पावर सेक्टर की समस्या नहीं है, पावर सेक्टर की और सारी समस्याएं भी हैं, और उसको कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली देखना पड़ेगा. So he caught on to this word comprehensively. He immediately agreed with me. He said, हाँ आप सही कह रहे हैं. And then he turned towards Mr. Piyush Goyal and told him कि आनंद जी सही कह रहे हैं, इस पूरी समस्या को हमें comprehensively देखना पड़ेगा. In fact, ultimately Uday was born out of that comprehensive understanding of the power sector.
Okay.
So that made my day in a sense that my minister erroneously believed that I was close to Modi because Modi agreed with me.
Exactly.
And I had a great time in the next 2 years.
Sir, you have been a civil servant before the era of Mr. Modi. You've been a civil servant after as well. If there is a question that comes to you that what is the basic difference pre and post, how would you define that?
There were very many differences. I worked closely with the UPA government in the cabinet secretariat.
Yeah.
Then I was school secretary here. I think the fundamental difference was there were too many power centers in the UPA government.
Okay. There was just one power,
multiple powers. Every minister on his own. And centrally no one knew what was going on. So it was one extreme. Modi government is another extreme, or was another extreme, where everything went to PMO. So I had always felt there's somewhere in between, You can't concentrate everything at the PMO.
Yes.
You can't decentralize as it was done in the UPA. You have to allow a lot of freedom to the ministers. They should be able to operate. Modi's government, the decision-making was faster because everything was centralized. But there were other problems. The ministries did not have that much initiative because everything was getting referred to the PMO. The other problem in the previous government, the UPA government, was that every minister was on his own and the Prime Minister was apparently clueless of what's going on. So I think these were two extremes we have to find a compromise in.
Sir, Mr. Modi has been known to be a person, or I should say the single word, to be a very keen listener. It has been clearly said by many people I have met in my personal life, and it's something said as that he listens to the concern very, showing all the interest that he has in his complete strength. And you have been in multiple meetings with him. So how much is that as a truth that comes?
Absolutely. Mr. Modi is a very, very patient listener.
Okay.
I mean, contrary to the impression that people may have that he is very eloquent, he speaks very well.
Okay.
But he hardly speaks in a meeting. He listens. And his observations are very pointed. And he speaks only after others have spoken. So, and he never interrupts you in between. I distinctly recall my last meeting with him when he gave me a patient hearing for 15 minutes. Okay. He just heard me out. So, he's a very, very patient listener. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
Sir, there was one thing that was known as the PDS system that was in your time. If you can just shed some light about that, I mean, what exactly was that and what were the problems there? Because more or less what I remember is what it was supplying essential foods towards the...
See, frankly speaking, I'm not the right person to speak about it. My knowledge would be as good as anybody else's.
Okay.
Because I never handled that as a subject.
Okay.
Public distribution system was not my area.
Okay.
I worked in labor ministry, I worked in coal ministry, in education ministry, but never worked in the consumer affairs, which actually handles this. But I think a lot of improvement has come about. That's what I've heard and read about. In this whole system of delivery of food, it's become much more transparent. Technology is being put to use. I mean, if one place where technology could have been used, and I had toyed with this idea when I was doing my health insurance scheme, where I felt that the same system could apply to PDS. I'm so glad it is being done now. And you don't hear so many complaints about public distribution system, as you heard earlier, because of the use of technology, because of the transparency that is being brought about in this.
Very true. Sir, आज भी एक certain level का, what should I say? There's this concern to every emerging civil servant right from the starting of their career after they leave Labasana and they are getting trained after that. And they're like, there is a subtle pressure that they have in their mind that their opinion would be secondary, and rather than a lot of people become a yes man kind of nature that they have. So, I mean, probably as far as I can see that this particular nature is the very setback to any civil servant if they are continuing it.
I'm not very sure whether this is true. It's very subjective to an individual.
Yes.
If you have the right background, if you have the right data, and if you've done the right analysis, and if you have the courage to speak up, I think civil servants do speak up. The numbers may be argued how many of them do it.
Yes.
But I think it benefits governance if a civil servant who does his homework well, who's articulate enough, and who's able to present his point of view. Ultimate decision is that of the politician who takes the ultimate decision. But in a large number of cases, my personal experience has been that you are able to convince the political master in case you present your point of view properly. So it's all a question of communication skills and timing of your presentation and the way you go about doing it. I mean, we live in a democracy and we should accept the fact that the ultimate decision maker is a politician. But as a bureaucrat, you can impart a lot of value to that process of decision making, where if you, as I keep saying, if you've done your homework, if you're worth your salt, if you are articulate enough, if you're able to package your point of view in an appropriate manner, what we must understand is that politicians have their compulsions, not necessarily illegal all the time.
Yes.
They have legal, legitimate compulsions. The bureaucrat has to keep that in mind, and keeping that in mind to suggest scenarios which fulfill his requirements as well. I mean, if it's an illegitimate, wrong requirement, please don't do it. But there's so many legitimate concerns that a politician has. I think it's a job of a bureaucrat, of a civil servant, to present such options which are acceptable to him. As I keep saying, no matter how great an idea is, if you live in a democracy, ultimately that idea has to be politically acceptable to run its course. And if you come up with an idea which you may think is correct, but it's not politically acceptable, it's not worth it.
True.
So you have to present and package your point of view in a manner that it becomes acceptable to politicians. I've had a great time. I work with all sorts of politicians. I must confess there are a number of cases where the politicians did overrule me, but that's how it is. That's how democracy is all about. But in majority of the cases, they agreed with me.
Sir, many of the coachings also that they are actually preparing civil servants during the time of preparation, they have taught ki, you have to be outspoken because aapke paas ek politician ka phone aayega and, they can create wholesome of trouble for you. Sir, in your particular entire era of being a civil servant, how many times did you face the exact same situation where you were, tackled by some politician?
No, I don't think I was ever tackled by a politician. Okay. But, in the beginning of my career, because of problems with me, I would not say with politicians, because I had a bias against the politicians.
Okay.
I always, like most of us, think that every wrong in the country is because of politicians. I think we are wrong in assuming that. I mean, I am as much responsible for the mess that would be around in the society as would a politician be. So we are equally responsible. So once you appreciate the role and function of a politician, then you start accommodating. Accommodation does not mean compromise. You start appreciating the compulsions of a politicians. Don't do anything illegal. I've told my colleagues also very clearly, never ever do anything illegal. Otherwise, like we saw in the movie Al Satya, he catches you on a wrong wicket, he will then go on to kill you. So don't do anything illegal for him. But if it is not illegal, then try and do whatever he's asking you to do, so long as it is not illegal. And then try and work out a system that whatever he's asking gets done irrespective of anybody's intervention. Why should somebody go to politician? Let me give you a simple example. I have many such examples during my career. Early in my career, I think I would have put in 7-8 years of service. I was additional registrar banking in cooperative society. And there was this problem of husband-wives not being posted together.
Okay.
I mean, now of course it's a rule, but earlier it was not. So these guys used to go to a politician who used to put pressure and they used to get posted. So once one officer met me and he said, me and my wife want to be posted together, but I don't want to go to a politician.
Okay.
I want you to do it. So I heard him out and I found that his request was a genuine one. So I worked out a principle and issued an order that in such circumstances, husband and wife should be posted together. That order stands even today. So we have to find solutions. The job of a civil servant is to find solutions, not provide roadblocks. I see the real problem with the civil servant is not doing what is asked of him, which is illegitimate.
Okay.
But taking time and doing what is legitimate. So if someone asks you to do anything which is legitimate and legal, do it and do it quickly. So you will get a reputation of being an effective officer. And then if you don't do anything which is illegal, they will say, "Yaar, galat kaam to nahi karta, lekin sahi to kar deta hai."
True.
It takes time. With me, it took time. It took me a lot of time to understand the politician, to unresolved within my own mind as to what approach would I adopt when questions are asked me.
Yeah.
Believe me, in the last 15, 20 years of my career, no one asked me for anything wrong. No one. So if a politician believes, that's my conjecture, that he wants something wrong to be done, he will not have me there. So be it.
Exactly.
Let him put somebody who he wants.
Because probably, obviously, there would be a order of yours that, yes, the person is not good.
But all said and done, I got pretty good posting, challenging posting.
Yes.
Secretary Coal, Secretary Education. What else do you want in life?
Yes. Sir, you've been IAS of UP cadre, probably the largest state and, with the largest number of constituencies as well. So, another question that's similar is to, working with Prime Minister Modi. How has it been with the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath?
I have never worked with him.
Okay.
I've just had a meeting with him, which I have described in my book.
Okay.
In a chapter, I think, running into 2-3 pages. That's about all. And I was pretty impressed with him in that meeting because I had taken to him a very sensitive issue of a rampant mafia in B.Ed and D.Ed colleges.
Oh.
And which had a lot of political backing, countrywide, including UP. He immediately agreed with me that's a very serious problem, and he even assured me that he's going to support me in that. He did support me. On the education front, I think UP did very well. So my association with UP, with Mr. Yogi Adityanath, was only in the context of education.
Okay.
And in all the fronts that I approached him, I think he was very forthcoming, and UP did very well. They did away with Nakal, the cogging, which is the bane of school education in UP. they have overcome that thanks to Yogi. So my interaction with Yogi was limited to education, and in that sense, I found him to be very effective.
So, the very recent scenario, the past few days that we've been having, all the buzzes about election, this and that. If I can just ask you a little, opinion of yours, that why was this particular statement being issued by everyone that, it was a failure for BJP in UP? I mean, anything that...
See, I'm not a political analyst.
Okay.
So I usually don't comment on politics. I can tell you what I personally experienced. My book is not about what I read here, what I heard here, what I saw here. No, it was personal experience.
Okay.
So I usually comment on only things which I have been through. I mean, there's so many political commentators going around. They have their commentary. You can ask these questions of them. I'm not good at it because I'm not a political commentator. And if I were to be, I'd be a terrible political commentator.
True. Not a problem, sir. Sir, if I could come to your posting, which obviously was told by my brother as well. So how challenging was your posting in the Khiri Esther? I believe the collector, you were there, posted in Khiri?
Yes, I was posted there in 1991, and it was an amazing experience. Okay. It was not a very long stint, but almost everything that can happen in a district happened. So we had floods, we had encounter with terrorists, we had Ram Janmabhoomi agitation, we had Mandal Commission, we had the Ticket problem there. So everything that you can think of happened in that time. But I had a great time. As I said, I started enjoying challenges. So especially during the Ram Janmabhoomi agitation, my reputation as a no-nonsense officer had traveled. So it was easier for me because reputations matter.
Yes.
So whereas other districts had to impose curfew, I did not have to impose curfew because everyone believed that if anyone did wrong, he would be behind the bars.
Yes.
Without batting an eyelid, I would take a decision, and irrespective of the political affiliation. In fact, it's actually happened when the president of the district ruling party, or district president of the ruling party, he wanted to take out a funeral procession because there was murder had taken place.
Yeah.
And I knew if he took out that funeral procession, there would be riots in the district. So I tried to advise him not to take out a funeral procession, and he insisted. So I arrested him, arresting a district president of a ruling party. And sure enough, late in the evening, the chief minister rang me up. आपने हमारे अध्यक्ष जी को बंद कर दिया. So I explained to him. He said, छोड़ नहीं सकते. मैंने कहा छोड़ेंगे तो राइट होता है. बोले वो तरीका निकालिए. मैंने कहा आप उनसे फ़ोन से बात कीजिए, उनको समझाइए कि ये ना निकाले funeral procession. I don't know what happened. He kept the phone down. So I said, okay. The next morning, I get a call that guy had agreed not to take out a funeral procession. So though the chief minister was annoyed, he followed what probably he spoke to it, and he agreed. And so I released it. And later on, the same chief minister awarded me as one of the finest collectors in the state. So I've had very challenging, very, very challenging incidents. This was one of them. Then there was when we shot down 5 Sikh terrorists.
Okay.
And as district magistrate, I was on the spot throughout the encounter, which lasted more than 12 hours. I was there on the spot trying to manage things, get force from Lucknow, speak to the Home Secretary. All things were happening there. Then there were floods. Then there was a Tikat Andolan where we had to create temporary jails for them. And then there were political issues also, like I distinctly remember, I've written it in my book also, that a former chief minister, I think it was Sheila Dikshit, who was incarcerated in a district jail there. So all sorts of things happened, but I enjoyed it. I think it was a great experience.
So there has been one experience of yours where some ex-CAG was to be appointed as an advisor, and on your behalf, it was a denial from your end that,
No, actually, it was when I had become Coal Secretary.
Yes.
It was in the beginning of my tenure as Coal Secretary, where the PMO felt that there should be an overarching committee headed by Vinod Rai advising on how coal block auction should take place. I resisted it. It was not usually accepted, the fact that PMO was all-powerful body and here was the Secretary Government of India resisting it. I resisted. I said that so long as I am Secretary Government of India, let me do the job myself, rather than somebody sitting, breathing down my neck. So, well, ultimately I had my way.